Hi, it's Manesh Patel from Harris Beach.
I'm Manish.
Hi, Manish Patel's on.
He's in, he's just not.
You can talk right now. We're just waiting for everyone to get here, so we're gonna put everyone on mute for a minute.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody.
We can hear you, John. Can you hear me okay? Page, can you hear me?
Yeah, I forgot to.
Just had Page call.
Yep, can you hear us? Can
Yes.
you hear us, everybody? Okay. You're all set?
Okay, I'd like to turn the meeting over to our auditors. We're ready if you are.
Wait, can we just quickly go through the, who's here, what we got a quorum, just who else? Hang on just a minute, we'll call roll and Margie gets. Yeah, sure. Margie, you want to call the roll for that?
Push your card. Yeah. Give me that. No, I don't touch. Okay, Dave Parley,
Here.
John Buckley,
Here.
John Carbone,
Here.
Rick Angelina,
Here.
Ed Flights,
Here.
all present, we have a quorum.
I'd like to turn the meeting over to our auditor.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay?
The auditor is Tom Zuber, Mango Metzger and Bar,
And
not mine.
Music to serenade you while you're.
It is you.
Put it in the wrong pack. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
all righty. So
We're off to a great start, everyone.
I'm here to discuss the audit reports, first for the City of Hornell Industrial Development Agency, and then we'll talk about the Hornell Area Industrial Development Corporation. So you should have received in your packets copies of the basic financial statements. In addition to that, I did send out a PowerPoint presentation that really ends up being an executive summary that will just highlight some of the key items in the basic financial statements. Obviously, there's a lot of information in those audit reports. The Hornell Area Industrial, or the City of Hornell Industrial Development Agency, that's the first organization I'll talk a little bit about. As you know, that's as of December 31st, 2020. And in financial statements, it's roughly about 35 pages long. So really the executive summary highlights some of the key financial information that we just want to talk about. But so if you just take a look at the PowerPoint presentation, again, the first page, the summarized statement of net position, okay? That's just quickly a snapshot of the financial position of the Industrial Development Agency as of December 31st, 2020. We have a prior year information just for comparison purposes. And then you can see the highlighted information down below that relate to some of the important aspects. The first item is we did issue an unmodified opinion, no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. That's really the opinion you're looking for. That basically indicates the financial statements are free of material misstatement and representative of the organization. And again, if you just take a look at that, you have total assets of about $6.5 million. The majority of those dollars are in cash and then capital assets, some of the assets that the organization owns. You've got some liabilities, about $657,000, and then your net position. So your overall net position of about $5.8 million. You can see that's down slightly from the prior year. We'll talk about that in a minute. But again, overall, an unmodified opinion, no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. And just a couple of the highlights when we look at the prior year compared to the current year, you can see some variances in the receivables, and primarily that relates to the timing of the pilots received relating to the Alstom program. And again, those dollars came in after the end of the year. And then you see a corresponding increase to the liabilities because, as you know, those dollars come into the organization and then you flow them back out of the organization, okay? So you can see those pilot transactions that get flowed through to the other municipalities that you're collecting on behalf of, okay? A couple of the other comments, the deferred inflows and outflows, they just really relate to the pension obligation. As you know, the organization participates in the New York State retirement system. As a result, the retirement system indicates that you have to include in your financial statements the unfunded obligation. So that's a calculation that New York State provides you, and then we have to incorporate that into the financial statement. So there's deferred inflows, outflows, and then there's a small pension obligation relating to that. And then you can see the net position, the current liabilities. Again, I had mentioned that part of that receivable relates to the Alstom pilot. In addition, there's some deferred rent in there from Alston. And then again, the current portion relating to the Iron Horse brewery. So again, as you know, the organization had a loan with that particular organization, and you can see the non-current balance, the $150,000. That's the non-current portion that's outstanding. Okay, but overall, the net position totaled increase of about $209,000. Your total assets and liabilities from last year to this year, but your overall net position went from $6 million down to $5.8 million. Again. Primarily because of the depreciation, but in addition to that, as you know, the organization did allocate about $250,000 to the Industrial Development Corporation, okay? And we see that on the next page, okay? If you just flip to the next page, the summarized income statement for the Industrial Development Agency, okay? And again, this is just the operating funds on the top half of the page, and then the operating expenses. Then you have some non-operating. So overall, you ended the year with that $5.8 million in net position. You can see your revenues are fairly consistent from one year to the next. They are down just a little bit. That's primarily the rental incomes that you're receiving. But in 2019, there was about a $65,000 one-time allocation or initial fee received from the Strobel's property, okay? And then you're collecting 12 months of annual rent this year. So that's the big variance from last year to this year going down. So overall, the rental income without that that $65,000 fee would be slightly higher, okay? Couple of the other items, just the operating expenses, a little over 800,000 in operating expenditures. I just pulled out the key areas. Obviously, you've got some salaries and benefits that you're paying, that's up slightly. As you know, you've got an additional staff person that was involved a little bit more this year. Consulting fees, again, your depreciation, you can see that went down slightly from last year to this year, primarily because some of the items that became fully depreciated. And then some other outside services. But again, the big item this year, you can see the $250,000 allocation to the IDC. And as you know, the IDA did review some of their past transactions, and you did identify some prior federally sourced program money that you had received relating to a community development block grant that eventually the building was sold. So the organization did some research, it identified those funds, and it was determined you could allocate those funds over to the IDC. So that's something that you did spend some time on this year, and that really is the big, one of the larger items that we just want to make sure we discuss during as part of the financial statements. Okay, so that is the overall summary of the financial statements. Before we just talk about the internal control communication, does anybody have any other questions on that? And just kind of a brief highlight of the financial statements. If you do have any questions on the audit report. Yep.
Clarification, when you mentioned iron horse, that's the depot.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's not the brewery.
No,
I'm sorry, my bad.
that's the street at
Sorry about that. I guess I had something else on my mind.
If you find one, let me know.
I'm going with you.
All right, so the next page, the management letter summary, again, with as part of any audit process, I had mentioned we didn't have any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, but we do review and make some procedural recommendations for the organization to consider to just enhance the checks and balances. So not significant procedural items, but just some minor communications just to consider, just to enhance the checks and balances, and just to ensure that, you have some timesheets just to document the hours worked, as well as, the utilization of a signature stamp. So just to look to make sure you have some good checks and balances relating to those two items. Again, very minor. I know the organization put together a corrective action plan that talks about what they're doing to react to those. So I think that's very positive from the audit standpoint. Okay. So that is a quick summary of the basic financial statements of the City of Hornell Industrial Development Agency. Are there any additional questions on that before we just review the corporation?
Anybody got any questions?
Just regarding the timesheet, is that something that just we haven't been doing at all, or was it hit or miss? Well,
We've been keeping track. I keep a sheet that says how many hours and everything. And she works 12 hours a week. It's always the same unless she works less hours or, different hours on certain days.
mhm.
We keep track, but he, when I talked to Tom, we decided she should be signing that timesheet. So now, when we do the sheet, I have a signature for Barb to sign, but those are the hours that she works.
Okay.
So that's all been cleared up.
I think now you could ask for a motion to approve the audit as presented, the IDA audit as presented.
Yeah, I'd like a motion to approve the IDA audit.
I'll make a motion.
John Carbone, second. John Buckley,
Yeah.
all in favor?
With the T. Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed?
No opposed? Motion carried.
Now, if you just bear with us a minute, we need to have a motion to
Adjourn.
to recess this meeting.
Recess.
Motion to recess.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor of recess?
Aye.
Do they know what we're doing?
Yeah.
Is that explained?
We're recessing to go into the Development Corporation so we can get their executive summary done while our auditor is here and let him get out of here. So we're recessing.
You're recessing this meeting and then opening up the IDC meeting.
Right.
Okay, understood, yeah.
Okay, I'll call the IDC meeting to order. Turn it over to you, Tom.
Great, thank you very much. Again, we have the executive summary here that I'll walk through. Again, though, we did complete the audit of the basic financial statements, internal control communication and other required communications with the audit committee and board. The executive summary, the information comes right out of the financial statements. Certainly, if you have any questions regarding the basic financial statements, I'll be happy to respond to those. Again, this is just a quick summary. So if you just flip to the next page, the summary, the statement of net assets of the Hornell Area Industrial Development Corporation. This snapshot just has, as you know, the IDC has a little less activity than the IDA. However, as you know, there was some additional activity this year as a result of the pandemic. And we mentioned, and as you know, as part of the impact of the pandemic, the organization did receive some funds from the Industrial Development Agency to administer a loan program. And so that's one of the major activities that took place during the year. And again, with these financial statements, we did issue an unqualified opinion, so no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. So again, that's the opinion that you're looking for. And again, with this snapshot, if you just take a look on the top half of the page is really the statement of net assets. So your assets, liabilities, and net net assets. Again, you can see cash and cash equivalent, 155,000. You can see those loan receivables, 239,000. So again, that represents those loans that you've made out. And in fact, you made out around $249,000 worth of loans. And you actually had some folks repay a portion of that loan during the year, about to the tune of about $9,600. Okay, so you have a net receivable balance of about $239,000. So you ended the year with a little, just under $400,000 worth of unrestricted net assets. Okay, and obviously a portion of those, about $239,000, really isn't available to spend because that's still sitting in an outstanding receivable. So you don't have the cash on the books, so not really available, but it does sit in the equity of the organization. Okay, and then the bottom half of the page, you can see the revenue and expenditures. And again, you can see the operating revenues a little over $250,000. So the significant piece of that is the loan coming or the transfer in from the Industrial Development Agency. You can see some other program services and other support funds, the interest income, again, what you're earning on your bank accounts. But overall, you know, you had an overall increase of about $206,000 in your unrestricted net assets, an increase there. The only other item just to note there is within the program services, you did enter into a service agreement with the Hornell Public Library during the year. So that was some additional items that you did support during the year. So again, overall, you had an overall increase of about $200,000 in your net assets. Okay. And then the year with a little over, just under $400,000. Again, as far as the internal control communications, again, there were no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. We didn't really have any procedural findings relating to this organization. Okay. So that's the key financial information relating to the audits. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Tom, I have one question. This is Ed Flights. I was just checking. I've got 6 pages in my PowerPoint presentation. Is there a management letter summary for the IDC, or just the 2 pages where we have the financial executive summary and then the balance sheet with the financial information on it.
Yeah, so the PowerPoint presentation is just the financial information for the IDC. There was no management letter communication item, so we did issue a report, but the report basically says there were no procedural findings.
Okay.
Right, and then we did issue the required communication letter that is included in the basic financial statements.
Okay. Thank you.
And those items are in your board packets for the Industrial Development Corporation.
Thank you.
That's, I think, a good time to ask that question as far as the loan program through the IDC. What's our status? We did what, 22 loans? And what's the status as far as that currency is everybody?
We have 3 loans that are behind now. One is for a medical reason, a person who had his own business got hurt on a job and it's going to be off for a while. So we gave him some extra time. We have one other one that said he would start paying in May because his business was off. And the other one we got in this afternoon. So we've only got really 2 that, and they're only behind it a month or 2. So it's been amazing how well people have paid back those loans. I mean, they're paying them back. We have one pay in advance, some payments in advance, Barb. And so I'm very satisfied with it. Barb's been kind of keep riding herd on him, but it's worked out real well.
Tom, I had a question, Rick Andolina. Just under the IDC portion, under liabilities, or sorry, where am I? Net assets without donor restrictions, the 395,152. That's inclusive of the loan financials, correct?
Correct. So the loan receivable is part of that. So when I mentioned that not all of those funds are available to use, it's because the cash is still sitting in a receivable for a portion of those entities. Okay.
So my question, I guess, is can you define what it means without donor restrictions and if there's a line item with donor restrictions?
Yeah, so there is no donor. So typically a donor restriction it's just terminology. So if a donor provides funds and says those funds are restricted to be spent for a specific purpose, that those funds would end up being restricted or set aside there.
Thank you.
And as part of the organization, part of the ultimate goal is to spur economic development and so forth. So we did not break those out separately because it's part of the overall mission of the IDC.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Need a motion to accept.
I can get a motion to accept. Rick, second. John Carbone, all in favor?
Aye.
Any questions? Motion carried. Thank you very much, Tom.
Thank you.
Now we recess this meeting.
Now we have to recess this
As you did
meeting.
the-
Motion to recess this meeting, David.
Second by John.
Second by.
Yeah, Tom, thanks for coming down. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you for your help.
Just so you know, also, Marge talked with Mango Metsu through him a lot. He helps us out all year round. So it's not just a one-time financial report. He's our financial advisor and we use him and we appreciate it, Tom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Every time.
Have a great day.
Drive safe.
Now getting back into the regular meeting.
You gotta have a motion to go back into regular session of the IDA.
Motion to go back into regular session.
Okay. John Carbone, you second that? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Okay. Now,
Back into the regular meeting. Like the secretary's report. John?
We're gonna do the annual meeting first.
Yeah,
I'll
yes,
entertain a motion to accept the minutes from the annual meeting of February 25th, 2020, or 2021, or 2020, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion.
Just pick one, John. I'll make the motion. Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next,
The audit.
treasurer's report for February, March. Ed?
that's the regular.
Everyone had received that in their packets and,
No, hold on.
go ahead. Are we talking about the annual again? Yes?
Yeah, we're back to the annual.
This one here.
yeah,
Just had the audit, so next will be the nominating committee report. And it's gonna be Dave Parmley as chair. Secretary, John Carbone. Ed Flights is treasurer, CFO, and John Buckley, assistant treasurer. Can I get a motion to,
Motion.
about a second?
We also do the personnel, right?
You right?
We also gotta do the personnel.
Want to go through all of them at the same time
first you do your,
or separately?
first you do the nominating committee report of your officers, then you go appointments, which is made by the chairman. Then you go through your committees and approve.
So we need a motion now for.
Yes.
Okay. John Buckley,
Motion.
John Carbone, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Appointments, executive director, Jim Griffin, executive consultant, Sean Hogan, administrative assistant, Marge Frangillo.
I don't think you need a motion. Those are your appointments. So
Okay.
you can go to the committees and then,
Starting out with the committees, personnel, chairman, Dave Parmley, member, Ed Flights, member, John Carbone. Audit committee, chairman will be John Carbone, member, Ed Flights, member, Dave Parmley. Governance committee, chairman will be Ricky Andolina, member will be John Carbone and John Buckley.
you can do a motion to accept committee.
If I could have a motion to accept.
A motion.
John Buckley, second. John Carbone.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You opposed? Motion carried. Next, we'll have agency attorney, John Dagan. Bond counsel will be Harris Beach. Internal auditors, Menger, Metzger, and Barr. Official newspaper, Evening Tribune. Old business.
Just under designations real quick. This might be splitting hairs a little bit, but bond counsel, Harris Beach. But we kind of use them a little bit more than just bond counsel. Should we, I would think we should change that to just general counsel because there's times where we,
It's general counsel.
yeah, there's times where we, have,
That's an old
yeah,
designation when we used to do bond issues.
Right.
You're right. It's just general counsel.
okay.
Our agency report. the agency report. Marge, is that in the packet here?
I didn't do anything with that.
That'd be the annual report, Jim, that you're looking for?
Yeah.
That is, it's in the, it says chart, it's most of the way through, it's toward the
And
end.
the back.
Yeah.
Annual report.
Oh, it's in.
There we go.
It's in the front tab, Griff.
Pardon?
It's it's in the front tab. It's,
Looking for the annual report, Jim?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
You got it.
7 or 8 pages.
Okay, the annual report is in your packet there, and Sean and Sean and I put this together to kind of summarize what's gone on this year, and I'll try to move through it. And Sean, you have certainly any comments? He did a lot of the writing of this, so even though the worldwide pandemic, we worked hard to fulfill our mission. As you're aware, we've been instrumental in gaining and promoting our inclusion as the only 2 opportunity zones in Steuben County. And that looks like it's going to be able to pay dividends now. The designation will help us with the Alston projects. And as you know, we've been working with Fagan Engineers to improve site improvements at the Shawmut Park. The surveys and site plans have been completed, contractor selected, work has begun. LaChase was the low bidder, and the contract was awarded total $498,000. The remainder of that $689,000 that we borrowed from REDAC has been used for engineering. Sean,
I'll give them an accounting, right? We've expended a good share of that for to make that site a common elevation, clearing out their scrub property. And that contract was late last fall, and it was accomplished by LaChase as the construction manager. They established a common elevation, 1154, and made the site ready for development. There's a lot of work that still has to be done. There's got to be relocation of utilities that run through the site, gas line, and then that would be part of the public facilities work, which we're working to get an EDA grant for. We're about ready to apply for that this week. We resolved some major questions with EDA this week with the help of Senator Schumer's office. And we were, because of the opportunity zone designation, we were correct in our original assumption that would qualify for 80% federal share, 20% local share. What we have to do before anything else takes place is move that gas line out of the project area. Today, our executive director, I presented him with the forms to do so, to sign. National Fuel will coordinate the work, and they'll actually do the work. We have to send them a check for $120,033.90. They'll effectuate the work, and we'll get that money back. And that's part of that $689 that we borrowed for the site improvement. We'll get that money back in June when their Economic Development Grants Committee reviews our application and approves it in June. They'll refund that money to us because we applied for a grant for the relocation of that line through our property. So rather than wait until June,
Is that a foregone conclusion that we'll receive the grant?
yeah.
Be reimbursed?
Yeah, I've been, our account rep is a guy named Ken Lawton. And I mean, he borrowing a workquake or an act of God or a tornado or something out, but he said he's 98% sure we'll get that refunded to us by June. But you know, regardless of we are or aren't, that work
Has to be done anyway.
And
You know, so it's a bonus that we got applied for and got a grant. So that'll be, in fact, we gotta get that out because that's the first thing that has to be done before they can begin any other work up there. They gotta relocate that gas line. So that's where we are with that. We'll apply for our grant this week through EDA. They said if we get it in this coming week, that they will present our request to a loan review committee or their grant review committee in May. And if they approve, if they announce an award offering at that time, then we can start racking up any money we spend, we could include in the EDA grant. Any money we spent prior to that, which most of that 698 has been expended prior to the grant because that's the way Alston wanted us to proceed. So Alston is responsible for that 689 plus whatever the local share is of that 80%, which is awarded. So there's where we're at. We're getting closer.
that project is huge.
Get that grant approved and hang up my spurs.
Me too. Just quick, you can read, see, I don't want to read the annual report. You can all read it. It shows the many projects that we've had, that we're working on and that we've worked on. And then in the back is just a review of major projects Hornell IDA has done over the years. I think it's good to remind people that it amounts to $284 million of private investment in the city of Hornell through the IDA, and also government investments of $52 million that we've gotten in grants. And then to John's point, the bonds that we used to issue have all been retired. So with that, it's just right now I'm busy finishing these up. One other thing I wanted to mention is I got a call yesterday about Rockland Soap Mill. That's coming and it's going to be beautiful. It really is. And we were pretty fortunate to find someone who would take an old building and renovate it. And I just
Especially that old building.
That old building, you better believe it. And so it's difficult to find developers who will take old buildings, old schools, old manufacturing buildings, and then turn them into something, So that's we've been fairly fortunate here in the city of Hornell to be able to do that.
Is there anything else sitting out there that Andy wants? Maybe an old shed in the backyard?
Yeah.
I tell you, I know you've been in Mayor and I've been in that building. This was a number of months ago.
Yeah.
I think when people see the finished product of that Rockland luxury lofts, they'll be blown away.
I do too.
Oh, yeah.
I think just the transformation when, even it's been a few months since I was in there and took the tour, but you could see it coming together. You could feel it and get a sense of what the finished product is going to be. And I think you're right. People are just going to be blown away by, what it's turned into.
And they really, they kind of opened up my eyes as to the history of the thing themselves. To us, it was always Marion Roar. Because they did a deep dive because they're applying for historic tax credits. And that's not an easy operation because they have to appeal to SHPO and do everything SHPO wants, but the history of that building really was eye-opening, that it was, originally established as a silk mill. And just a note for that, Hornell at one time produced more silk, were the second largest producer of silk in the United States. Second only to Patterson, New Jersey.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of, Hugh Gates and the Rockland Silk Mill. So Hornell was a hotbed of silk. And when you talk about silk, you're talking about silkworms and creating silk. And so it was unbelievable, the history.
When we still had pictures of the silk mill down on where Extra is.
Right there.
Yeah, and right there, and you can see the train coming into that building. They would come in with the silk with armed guards on those cars and take them directly into the building. There was that's that vault that was down there, no windows in it. And that's where the silk went because it was so valuable. It come all the way from the Far East into our mills here in Hornell. So that, I forgot, that's the one of the ones.
Then you talk about Hugh Gates.
Yeah.
Gates, obviously, Hugh Gates is a French name. Hugh Gates was also started out as a silk mill. And the fact that the French were in Indochina, where the Silk Road is, was a big thing. Yeah, it's just amazing that when you start unraveling the history.
Yeah. We have no.
Hey, Sean, could I ask a question? Was that part of the empowerment zone program, or was that a different program that they applied for the credits and things like that? What program was
that Rockland Silk Mill building received a Restore New York grant.
Okay.
They can't get that grant until that was approved. They can't get that grant until a C of O is issued by the city of Hornell.
By the codes office.
Yeah. Once the C of O is issued, and then final inspection by the city, they clear it for occupancy, then they can apply for the money from the state of New York.
Thank you.
Hey. That's the end of our report.
Hey, is this report going to be available? I mean, if we're not going to read the whole thing, is this available where people can access this?
Our report, it's in the packet you've been sent.
No, the public.
He's talking about for the public,
I'm talking about for the public.
put it up on the website.
Sure,
That is on the website.
sure.
Will be there.
Yes, it will be. The press can have it.
As soon as,
Be good to get something in the paper for a change.
Yeah, I think some of this information.
I'm only kidding. Okay, you can call for old or new business on that, and I don't think we have any.
The old business, new business. Well, I can take a motion to adjourn from the annual meeting. John, all in favor?
Aye.
And go to a regular meeting.
I'll go to the regular meeting. Hold on.
We'll do the regular meeting of the agency. And then, yeah.
Call the meeting to order. I'd like the secretary's report. Chad?
So I'll accept the motion to approve the minutes from the 2/25/21 meeting, 3/25/21 meeting, and the 4/14/21 meeting. I'll accept the motion.
Motion.
Ed, second it. All in favor?
Ricky,
Aye.
any questions?
Oh, yes.
Passed.
Carries. Next would be the treasurer's report. Ed, if you could.
Yes, I'd like to refer everybody to the information in their packets. It's regarding the IDC. And I would like to.
IDA.
Pardon?
IDA.
Sorry, we're in the IDA.
Yeah.
And I would like to have you review that. If there's any questions, I want to take a motion to accept the report.
Motion by John Buckley, second by John Carbone. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Any questions?
No,
No, we're all set. Next, the committee reports, audit committee or personnel.
Audit first.
we have no reports of any of those, do you?
No, really.
Audit committee, yeah.
Okay.
The audit personnel and governors, and I guess we don't have any reports.
Is there the-
The regular IDA meeting, the audit committee report.
Yeah, we should have an audit committee.
I have an audit committee.
The audit committee,
He's got an audit.
you need a report of the audit committee.
Yeah.
Got
In February, we paid out the IDA operating account, $490,470.21. And I'll note that about 390 of that was for the project up at Shawmut. Paid to La Chase. Then in March, we paid out $98,879.47. Take a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Angelina,
Second, Rick, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next, personnel committee. Nothing to report on personnel. There's the governance committee.
Your chair.
I'm chair of that. There's nothing to report there either. Next, Jim.
Executive Director's Report. Couple of things I want to bring up to you. We, Lynn Industries down at, we're leasing a building to them. Their lease runs out next month. And what I have talked with them, been negotiating with them. I think we're pretty much settled on an extension of their contract. She's had some problems down there space wise, and we're getting them resolved. We're helping her resolve them. And I talked to her yesterday. So I think we should have a lease, a 5-year lease ready to go by our next meeting. So it's,
How many employees are in that building now?
right, that's the problem. She's only got a couple people down there because she hasn't got.
The last I knew it was only 2 or 3, I
Yeah,
think.
that's it. And she claimed that she will have 6 or 8 down there right away as soon as she can get cleared out the space requirement she has down there. There's a shipment of seats in that building that has it absolutely packed full that belong to somebody, and she can't get them out of there. So we did call the company and tell them that she may not renew her lease, and then it comes back to the IDA. And we probably will go down there and move everything outside. So I think they've come around, and I think they're gonna get it straightened out. So, and she's been, she's a hard worker, and she's been good with us for, almost 20 years, I think. And the other thing is, Sean talked about National Fuel. We're working with them on that. And EDA resolutions, we've signed all the EDA documents, sent them to EDA. And the other thing I have to discuss with you is Bassett, the development up at the airport. His second phase, which is the second 2 buildings, have been really affected by COVID this year. They have not been able to get, and also the price of materials has gone wacko.
Just going to mention that. Is that going to have an impact? Is that going to delay things, or
He told me that and they have been working on that building. I mean, they are getting it there, but he has every intention of building. He's got the other one in the ground already. But the problem is, our lease assumed that he would be done with all of it this year. It looks like he won't be done until later next year. So he's asked us to put together an extension of his payment in lieu of taxes out to the end of next year to give him a chance to finish up the buildings before he has to start paying his pilot. So I've asked our council to look back at our lease and see how we can do that. I mean, unless anybody has an objection, my feeling was we would just take and move everything forward 2 years. I mean, it's still the same amount and everything, we give them 2 years to get it finished. I mean, they're sincere about doing it. And as we know, they've spent a lot of money up there doing it, so. I'll get back to-
What building are we talking about?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's the Bassett Housing Development up at the airport.
They're the residents of Hornell.
Residents.
Thank you.
And so that we're trying to work out an agreement with them, and I think everybody, I would assume everybody's kind of behind helping the guy out, get it finished up. If you have any questions or objections, let me know.
Do you have a written agreement with him that we can review?
Oh, yeah, well, we have a signed lease with him when we sold him. We sold him all the land. The land all belonged to the IDA. And we sold him the first parcel to build his 2 buildings on. And he built the buildings and he's paying the taxes on them. Then he came to us for his phase 2, which we put together for him for phase 2. And in that, we also included part of some additional properties that we owned up there, the whole thing we owned, turned it over to him with the understanding that he was going to build a series of single-family homes when he gets these buildings built. So that's still in the wind. There's no pilot on that because we didn't have a pilot because we didn't have a project. So he's got I think 5 years to develop that. So and again, he's another one that's really spent a lot of money up there and in good faith. So we expect that he'll have this other building. I mean, I saw him up there working the other day on the roof when it was about 20 degrees and the wind blowing. You know, I don't think I'd want to be up there. But, so we'll be coming back to the board with a full. But we do have, to answer your question, we do have a copy of the lease and agreement with them on the current one. And if you'd like, we'll get you a copy of it.
That'd be great. Thank you.
It's really, Sean, do you have anything?
Just an update of what's going on. Yeah, I just briefly gave it to you really, and we have been giving update on the EDA project, you know, and I want everyone to understand what we're doing is this EDA is for public facilities, public works. And the reason we're able to do that is because the property will be maintained ownership of the IDA. And there's a lot of city infrastructure that has to be relocated for this particular project. And at the conclusion of it, there will be a sidewalk that will run the length of the project installed. There'll be the Shawmut Road will be repaved. And there'll be relocation of the sanitary sewer and the 20-inch water line. And that's what our work is basically going to be accomplishing. And it's all made, we have to do it because of the project, but work that would have had to been accomplished by Alstom anyway. So by doing this, applying for this, for the grant, we are in a roundabout way helping Alstom reduce their cost for this total project. This total project's costs are, all inclusive. It's a $47 million project. So it's not a small thing. So we're making progress on that. Like I said, we should have our EDA application in, and the federal government will fund 80% of that particular budget ask. We have to come up with a 20% share, local share. As I said, Alstom is committed to paying that local share. Moving on to the Hampton Inn project. Well, we're making progress there. The Indus Hospitality has got to get us an application for financial assistance, which they said they'd have to us in the coming month, May. And they have applied for, and I'm told they're pending a letter of map revision for a certain portion of their project area that is considered floodplain. And so and they were experiencing the same problems that anyone else is experiencing because of COVID. The cost of construction equipment has increased. This has gone from a $10 million project in the course of less than a year to a $12 million project. So you can see the impact of the cost of commodities has on these projects. They're committed, they're gonna go forward with it, but it's whatever, they're counting on whatever assistance they can get as far as pilots and things like that, sales tax exemptions that would reduce their burden.
Now, they were looking at the spring as a groundbreaking. Are we still on track for possibly June?
I believe so. Once we get the request for financial assistance to the executive director and to this board, and they say they'll be here in May. When that happens and they approve it, then that starts the clock ticking. You negotiate a pilot payment and you do the cost benefit analysis of their investment versus jobs creating, what we're asked to participate in. So yes, they would like to get it in the ground this, by late spring, early summer, because it's going to take a year to construct.
Yeah.
So that's my report.
Thank you, Sean. Do we have any new business? Old business? How about a motion to adjourn? John? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank the board. Well, we have the IDC regular meeting now.
I'll call the IDC meeting to order.
IDC annual meeting, right?
Wait. No, the regular. Did we adjourn the IDC annual meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We adjourn it
So
or
we gotta do the annual meeting.
We gotta go do the annual meeting.
Yeah.
You should get Adam Costello to get that first.
Did we recess the annual meeting?
The IDC annual meeting should be fairly quick.
Yeah, we recess, we go back, finish it, then get that.
Reopen the,
Okay, we'll reopen the IDC. I'll call the meeting to order. Secretary's report.
I'll accept the motion to accept the minutes from the meeting of 4/25/20.
Make a motion.
Lights,
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Well, hold on. The only change was I didn't vote for that, so it would be abstained, or it just said I voted aye.
that's okay.
That's okay.
Okay.
So you abstain, Rick?
Yeah.
Okay, well then, abstention.
Detail.
Get a second from Ed?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Rick abstains, motion carried. The annual audit, which we already got that report. Nominating committee report.
That'll mirror what we did in the.
Yeah, it'll just mirror exactly what we
Yeah.
did.
You can just call for a motion to approve the report as presented to IDA.
I can have a motion. John Carbone, second Ed, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any questions? Motion carried.
So the same officers for the IDA will mirror the IDC.
Right.
And the appointments, executive director Jim Griffin, executive consultant Sean Hogan, administrative assistant Margie Riddle. And the committees will mirror just exactly what
IDA committee.
IDA was.
Okay.
And the same as the designees, Dagan, bond council,
be corrected to general counsel.
General, correct. Yeah, general
Give him
counsel.
a new title.
Yeah,
Accountant, vendor, let's go. Bar,
price doesn't go up.
Same price.
newspaper, Evening Tribune. Any old business? New business? If not, I'd like a motion to adjourn. Second by Ed, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Everyone have a good night.
We gotta do the IDC.
Oh, geez.
Meeting of the IDC.
Somebody wants to get out of there.
That was the annual, okay.
I'll keep you straight.
One more meeting.
One more.
I'm getting reading down.
This will be easy.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Secretary's report.
I'll accept the motion of the minutes of the 12/17/20 meeting.
Ed? Second, John? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Treasurer's report, Ed?
Again, I would refer everybody to the information that came to them in the packet. And I would entertain a motion to accept.
Motion by John Carbone, second by John Buckley.
Any discussion?
Favor?
Aye.
Any questions? Motion carried. Audit committee.
Yes, in December, we paid out $4,950 out of the operating account. Nothing in January, nothing in February, and nothing in March.
Okay. Can I get a motion to accept that?
I'll make the motion.
John Buckley,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Personnel committee? John?
That's your-
Nothing to report. Okay, governance committee? Nothing to report.
Sam Nash.
Oh, yes.
Before we get in.
Yeah, so back in December, if you recall, we appointed or we bestowed the honorary title of Chairman Emeritus to Sam Naska as it in regards to the IDA. And what we should have done at that point in time is assign that dual role to the IDC as well. So I would propose to the board that we bestow that title on Sam Naska, not only to the IDA, but to the IDC as well, in honor of his 46 years of service.
48.
48 or 40?
Almost 50.
Yeah, too close to 50. Yeah.
We'll round it up and say nearly 50 years of service. So I think that would be fitting. I think sometimes, when we're talking in meetings, sometimes the lines kind of blur between the IDA and IDC. But I think that would be an appropriate thing for this board to do.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Governance, nothing to report. Jim, you got anything?
No, thank God.
Sean, do you have anything?
No, I'm strictly an IDA guy.
Halfway out the door.
Yeah.
Okay, I got
New
one
business, old
question.
business?
One question on the aging report. You said there's 22? There's supposed to be 22 loans?
Yes.
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 The aging report only shows ones that aren't paid to date.
Okay. All right. That's
I
my,
think that back during the height of COVID, I think they solicited the loan, when the IDA solicited the loan, I think they had about a total of 35 or 38 applications and 22 were funded.
I was just counting up. We only had like 18 here or something.
reason some of most of the reason the biggest share were not funded was they didn't meet the criteria. They weren't located in the city. That was the criteria. They had to be located in the city or not. That's performed. I mentioned it before, but that has been surprising. I think when we did that, we knew how bad some of our small businesses were hurting, and I think and they've all appreciated it. I mean, Barb will tell you they come in and say thanks to the IDC, the IDA, and everybody for helping them out.
Anything else to get old business? If not, I'd like a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
By John Buckley, John Carbone, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Where are you going out of Marinos?
Thank you very much.
I think that'd be nice.
So